when the Mexico gigafactory gets online, which should be online likely next year at some point in time. I think they're likely going to use that. If they're going to talk about, exporting to another country, I think they'll use that out of Mexico. And obviously they're going to continue to use their facilities in North America as well in terms of the United States of America. But I think the Mexico gigafactory margins will be significantly better than what they're producing out of Austin, what they will, are producing out of Fremont or anywhere else for that matter. And it's not because the workers are better in Mexico or worse in the United States or anything like that. It just comes down to math. It comes down to labor. It comes down to wages. And we do know in Mexico, you're going to be able to get labor at significant discounts compared to that same worker that's, say, at the Austin Gigafactory. Because if somebody's working at the Austin Gigafactory, they're going to want $20+ an hour, if not $30+ an hour. In Mexico, you're not paying, $30+ an hour. I can just tell you that, unless it's some sort of senior manager at the facilities or something like that. So ultimately, people are so caught up into Tesla's short-term margins, but the more I look at it, the more I'm bullish on Tesla's long-term margins. I'm not bullish on Tesla's 2023 margins, but I'm very bullish on Tesla's long-term margins. If suddenly, the Fed starts dropping rates here, and let's say the environment gets better for Tesla when it comes to getting loans, right? I can tell you, Tesla's likely going to start raising price on those vehicles again, okay? So don't just assume like whatever price they're getting now is the price forever. We've seen Tesla move around pricing. From what we heard on the conference call, what the CFO said on the conference call, they asked him, how often do you guys look at pricing and adjusting pricing? The CFO said, they're looking every week, okay? They're looking every week on if they should adjust pricing up, down, all around. And so this is something to think about in regards to Tesla is like, and you don't hear this talked about as much when they're actually raising pricing. It's a lot more when they're actually lowering pricing, okay? And so just that's all I'm going to say about that situation. They could definitely raise price in the future. Now, if we look at some Tesla numbers here, okay, this is interesting. So these are future projections for Tesla in terms of EPS and kind of what the PE is based upon these estimates in future years and whatnot, okay? Now, first off, I don't pay any mind to whatever analysts have for anything further than basically about a year out. And the reason being is analysts have enough trouble getting numbers roughly in line over the next 1 to 2 years, never mind, 3 years out, 4 years out. And also, look at how ridiculous these numbers are, right? Also, supposedly Tesla's only going to grow 9% in 2028. But supposedly they're going to grow 71% in 2023. But look there's only one analyst that puts up those numbers, only 4 analysts, right? So it's these numbers, it's like, okay, interesting, I guess, but it's just complete waste because I'm telling you, none of these numbers are going to be even remotely close to accurate, okay? So what I like to look at is what they have for 2023 numbers and what they have for 2024 numbers, right? So, if you look at valuation-wise and you're wondering, is Tesla stock overvalued or undervalued, those sorts of things, right? You're looking at a stock right now that's at a forward P of 47 based upon what analysts have them doing this year for EPS numbers, right? Let's just assume Tesla and GM, right? Let's assume both those companies' numbers are accurate, which I don't agree with this, I don't agree with this, but let's just say it, okay? Let's just use these two as an example. So 44% growth expected in earnings per share next year, right? General Motors expect to have 2%, which once again, I don't think that's even going to happen. But let's say that does. So let's do a little math on that. That means Tesla's going to outgrow GM over 20x in earnings per share next year. Over 20x. So if that's the situation, then Tesla should be commanding a forward PE next year of 100 plus. Of a 100 plus. But where's Tesla at? Tesla's at a 32. That's not 100 plus, but that's what it should be. Because if Tesla's outstripping that sort of growth, they should be commanding that sort of valuation, folks, okay? And so at the end of the day, like when I look at Tesla, I see a company that's undervalued right now and undervalued by quite a bit. And this is a very different situation than a few years ago. Because Tesla's played catch up in regards to their growth now versus where it was a few years ago when we were talking about $1 trillion market cap here, and the valuations come down substantially. So as Tesla stands here today, I'm looking at a Tesla that I believe is undervalued versus a market. Whereas everybody looks at this and they're like, oh, GM's at 5 forward PE, Tesla's at 32 or 32 PE based upon 2024 numbers, GM's at a 5 based upon 2024 numbers, right? I'm just telling you, like, you got to look at the growth. The growth matters in a substantial way. And ultimately, Tesla's undervalued. And if you want to say General Motors is overvalued, you could say that. I'm not going to say that. All I'm going to say is Tesla's significantly undervalued, folks. Significantly. And I think Tesla's in a prepping up mode to make its next massive move kind of up here. This is phenomenal, great news. Phenomenal, great news, okay? Inflation, as far as trueflation numbers, they have us under 4% right now for trueflation numbers, okay? Now, this matters in such a huge way, right? Because what has been the number one thing working against the market? It's been inflation, right? It's been the fact that prices have been going insane. The Fed's had to work against the market. It's been a nightmare. It's been a complete nightmare. And so the fact that you see trueflation numbers coming under a 4 number is huge. And like, the government numbers will go to wherever trueflation numbers are over time here, okay? And the interesting thing when you look at trueflation numbers, right, is remember, trueflation numbers could be, let's say, if they are somewhat inaccurate, they could be actually inaccurate to the upside, okay? And if you think about it like this, right, the government numbers never had us at these sorts of numbers. The government numbers had us max out at just over 9%, while trueflation had us at what it believed the real inflation number was at 11 or 12%. So when you see trueflation coming at 3.8, don't be surprised if the government numbers over the next few months come under whatever trueflation's at, because trueflation's already been to the upside. So this is something that's very important to factor in here, folks, okay? Very important. And a lot of people always believe that the government kind of cooks the numbers anyways, they say, right? That's always been the saying since I got in the market, right? And the government, puts out whatever they want to put it out and changes. And I'm not going to get into that whole debate, but there's a thought process around that. So if you're thinking about that, then you could be saying maybe the government numbers will come in at a 3.2, 3.3, 3.5, something like that, in a month or two, right? Because government numbers lag because they're always releasing like a month and a half after the numbers are actually out, okay? So this is very intriguing. And now this matters in a significant way for how stocks are valued here, okay? And here's why. So with everything that's going on with First Republic, and also, if we're talking about commodities continue to tank here, if we have more of this problem, right, then Jerome Powell is not going to be able to raise at the next meeting. Now, there's about, from what I've seen, around 80% of market participants are expecting the Fed to raise rates. That's as of this past week. The numbers could switch all around, okay? Around 80% were expecting the Fed to raise by just like 25 basis points and then be done, okay, at this next meeting. But here's the deal. I believe there was like a 50-50 that on them even raising on this next meeting. If not, like a 40-60, like they're more probable not to raise than raise, okay? But there was before this FRC situation got worse, as before more instability in the banking system. If you're talking about more instability in the banking system, that's going to put Jay Powell in a situation where he's like, it's not even worth raising right now, okay? So we know Wall Street is the kings of manipulation of whatever they want to manipulate for price, okay? So if they want Jay Powell not to raise anymore, and they say, you're done, mister, okay? Then what they'll do is they'll continue to kind of tank and cause massive volatility in the banking space. There's nothing more important than causing instability in those stocks. NVIDIA, Tesla, Meta, those stocks, they don't matter for the Fed making decisions. They don't care. Banking, whole different situation. Bank runs, bank stocks going down 40, 50% in a day, 10% in a day, 20% in a day. That's a whole different can of worms there. That's what the Fed looks at and says, oh boy, like we got real problems out here. We're creating real problems and we got to stop working against this market because there's massive instability in our financial system. And one of the Fed's jobs, right? The Fed has two main jobs. One is to keep prices in control. The other job is to keep unemployment low, right? The third kind of other job they have that is kind of not talked about as much is creating stability in the financial system. And if I'm telling you, if these stocks continue to tank and just be up and down and just insanity over this next, I would say 7 to 10 trading days, the Fed will be put in a situation where they won't raise. Because they'll say, and so it's up to Wall Street, really. We know Wall Street could easily manipulate these stocks. You think FRC's just down 40% by accident today? You think they didn't already know these numbers that they were going to report? Come on now, okay? there's certain things going on, and there's certain stocks moving certain ways because they want them to move that way. Okay, the big Wall Street money, because they can shake those up however they want to shake those babies up, right?